Hip internal rotation is crucial if you want strong, healthy hips for jiu-jitsu. If you lack hip mobility, you can experience pain down the chain into the knees. Moves like knee cuts, certain setups for triangles. Anytime the knee turns inward at the hip, this is internal rotation. This can happen when the hip is flexed, or it can happen when the hip is extended. I'm gonna show you a couple moves to help open up and explore your internal rotation. First thing I like to do is a bit of a dynamic movement just to kind of test out and see what you're capable of. Put your hands behind you, sit your butt to the floor, feet a little wider than hips, and you're just gonna drop your knee from side to side. Okay, so one, we're gonna focus on the knee that's coming in. This is internal rotation. The other leg is externally rotating. So just rock side to side. Try to keep your butt on the floor. Try not to rotate your hips off every time you do this. Keep your butt planted and just drop the knee. Should feel a bit of a stretch through the hips. Shouldn't be like crazy intense, but it's gonna depend on the person. Just scanning around. You can also do this one with a little bit more hip extension, lying on your back, dropping the knees side to side. You may feel this one a little bit more through the front of the hip as well. Same concept though, try to keep your butt on the floor. Don't completely roll over side to side. Butt stays down and we're rotating through the hips. For this one, we're just testing the waters, seeing what your hips can do very gently. Next, let's get into this 90-90 position, or S position, very common in jiu-jitsu. When we sit in this position, the front leg is externally rotated through the hip, back leg is going to be internally rotated. Be mindful of the angle of your leg relative to your hip, okay? Knee in front of the hip, knee directly below the hip, knee behind the hip. You can play around with the angles a little bit, but I like to try and get the knee directly stacked below the hip and then having the shin come out at around a 90-degree angle. So what you're gonna do is sit tall. You can start facing your front leg, sit tall, and then slowly turn to face this internally rotated leg. Once you feel like you can't turn anymore, we can add a little bit of PNF. So imagine you have a scale on the floor and you want to push this shin into the floor. Hold for 3 to 5 seconds. You can start at like 10% effort. Relax, let it go, and then see if you can turn to face this foot even more. You want to try and get that range through the hips here. Then you can go again, push down a little harder this time, 3 to 5 seconds. Relax. Let it go, see if you can turn a bit more, and you can repeat one more time. Okay, so this is to help improve the internal rotation. Then when you're done on that side, you can switch and do the other leg. If you're finding this really hard, sit on a block. Elevate your, front butt cheek on the block, and that'll allow the leg to drop down a little bit more. And you might have a little bit more freedom of movement in here through the hip. It's important when you're stretching to explore different ranges and different positions. I almost call it like wiggling around. You're not just gonna like find a position and stay here forever. The muscle is 3-dimensional, so we wanna kind of scoot around, play, find those kind of sweet spots. If you're new to this, be gentle. We don't want to be slamming the tissue. You want to think about more like sneaking up on it and doing everything slowly and approaching it with ease and trying to breathe through any areas that might feel a little spicy. For this next one, you'll need a couch or bench. You're gonna kneel down with one leg and you're gonna have the other leg quite a bit in front of you, okay? I like to play around with the position of my foot a little bit. I get this more in my hip if I dorsiflex my foot and kind of keep the inner part of my foot down. From here, you're gonna turn and almost try to face this leg. Almost think about rotating and looking behind you. You should feel a bit of a stretch in through the hip here. Use this leg to control how much hip extension you get. So you can get into more hip extension. You can lean out this way while still looking behind you. You can step forward and try to rotate even more. Play around with the angles. See how I'm not just sticking into one spot. I'm exploring, shooting my hips back, shooting my hips forward, all while keeping the shin the same spot. Okay, this is not moving. I'm moving my hips, my other foot around and rotating my torso, my trunk, to kind of explore the limits of my internal rotation. If you want healthy hips for jiu-jitsu, you gotta improve your internal rotation just as much as your external. There's a lot of emphasis these days on external rotation, and that's good. We need that for jiu-jitsu, but I think sometimes people forget about the internal rotation that's required as well. If you find yourself tweaking the medial aspect of your knee often, so think medial meniscus, MCL, it could be related to a lack of internal rotation in your hip. So something to keep in mind, if you've never done any hip internal rotation work before, start slow. These are just a few ideas. There are a million different ways to address this, okay? Keep that in mind.